The biggest change I would say is the confidence to be able to walk into a room with your shoulders back and your head high. Like I think life is about pace. There's some moments where you got to move fast, and then there's some moments where you gotta slow down a little bit and regroup and reorganize. It is very important that you go through some bumps.
Yeah.
It's probably another thing that I would say about the next generation is it's okay to fail, right? It's okay to miss the mark, you know, because it can allow you to recalibrate, maybe do some things different and come back stronger. But I think
Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow and scale your business. So in this episode, I had a discussion with the James Cornelius Williams, head coach of Voorhees University Tigers, a native of Augusta, Georgia, and Statesboro County School System graduate. He previously served as a Voorhees assistant men's basketball coach and an academic success coach at Charles R. Drew Charter Schools in Atlanta. He achieved 52 wins, leading the team to his first winning season. With master's degrees in project management and a special education, Coach Williams inspires athletes in basketball and in life. Now, this was a very interesting discussion. Coach Williams works with a young man in a college basketball team, but a skill set or process, the strategy that is required in a basketball, very similar to what business leaders need to build and scale their companies. Now, we talked about team building, talked about team training, team leadership, team environment, communication, and also conflict resolution. Coach Williams shared his insights and also in his strategy, how he deals with a conflict resolution in a team environment. Hope you find value in this discussion as much I do. I only have one ask. If you're finding a value in this discussion, don't forget to send us a feedback, subscribe to this channel. Until next time, please welcome Coach Williams. I guess welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today our guest is Coach James Williams. Coach, it looks like the topic, we have, where we're talking about is you deal with the, people coming in a workforce at a very young age and, also teach in a university. So I'm looking forward to learning from you, looking forward to, see where the opportunity looks like, for this young people coming in the workforce. So thank you so much for your time and welcome to the podcast.
oh, thank you. I'm very honored and glad to be here. Really excited about today's conversation.
Good stuff. So, if you walk us through, what do you do on a, I know you coach basketball. So, if you just give us a little bit summary, what do you do on a daily basis?
Well, currently right now we're in the off season, so it's a lot of administrative work. Pretty much getting the students that I have recruited in, trying to get them enrolled in school. We start school here at the end of July, so we're coming up on a month before this thing gets to rocking and rolling for us. So pretty much that I'm recruiting for the next year's crop of student athletes. I'm currently writing a book, so I'm finalizing uh, the book writing process to publish my book that'll come out in August. I've started on my second book, in that being a father. So my summers, as even though the students are not here on campus and they're preparing for whatever it is I'm gonna teach next fall or spring, just depending. So I do a product development, project management course for our seniors here on campus. So just prepared, trying to get the latest and greatest and updating the information. But I've pretty much been probably spending most of the summer learning AI because it's kind of where our society is moving. And so I've been getting behind the curtain, so to speak, of just generative AI. Been navigating Google's Gemini, OpenAI, just different AI platforms, avenues. Everybody's essentially adding an AI component, so I'm trying to get ahead of that because the students are using it as well. So and this is where society's going. So a lot of brain work for me in the summertime.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. So, you know what? So you coach basketball team in a university just to make sure that is that what it is? So it's a senior team or okay.
Yes, I am. I'm the head men's basketball coach at Voorhees University. We are a 4-year private institution, HBCU, historically Black college and university here in Denmark, South Carolina. So there's the 4-year. We're a 4-year. We have a master's and we have a doctoral program. So we're one of the few schools in the country, smaller schools, private schools that has all three levels for our students. So it's a lot of preparation. Then you have faculty and things like that. So yeah, I'm a fairly busy person of the summer.
So let's let's dive into on a youth side, and then we'll get to the the business program and also AI side of things as well. So let's start with the youth. You spend a lot of time with the youth, coaching them, guiding them. Where you see some of the challenges youth is up against, like what they're trying to figure out.
Well, I think the first thing, which my core values, it's called choices, and the very top of core values is communication. And we just talk about when we're dealing with the millennials, Gen Z, however you want to label them. Communication is a very, very big, I want to say, challenge, just because they've been so used to the texting, the typing, the screen. And so, as you and I are conversing right now, especially you, when you get a young man or a young lady in front of you, the soft skills that are necessary to navigate in a global economy is important. So I would say one of the first things that I notice that can be a challenge is both the verbal and the written skills of my younger demographic. Just because education wise, there's been shifts in how educators navigate you know uh, educating our young people with the written and communication piece. I don't know if you did, but I grew up writing cursive. No, the young people don't write cursive now. Punishment for me was writing sentences like 1,000 times. That was punishment for me.
Yeah.
And so just those things, and then like I said, the soft skills, eye contact, enunciation, how to do a proper handshake. So our university does a very good job. Our founder in 1897, she wanted to give uh, students the opportunity to have education with their vocation. And so we've kind of carried on that tradition in 128 years of being a university of guided, what we call guided career pathways. And so we have a structured class for all incoming freshmen where we teach resume skills, we teach soft skills, we teach attire. Every freshman that comes onto my basketball team, I say, hey, you need to have a pair of black slacks, a khaki or blue, a button up, shirt, and then I'll provide a tie.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's going to come on campus and who you're going to meet. So I want you to be able to have a proper handshake with eye contact. And of course, at that young age, I'm not asking you to have all the information, but I do want to arm you with some basic things to where your first impression doesn't deny you some opportunities. So that's kind of just how I did. And I would say the second thing is time management. Those two are the top things that I'm noticing. Oh yeah, that our younger, our younger crowd, they struggle. They struggle. Those are obstacles and areas of improvement for them as a whole. I think just learning how to manage the time. And for me, you have students that come from high school to grade school uh, period. Now they move to a more independent period of college. And for my basketball players, of course, you have to learn how to manage all the things that come with your sport and with being a student. But just for your everyday student, managing when to study, when am I going to go to the cafeteria and eat, when am I going to go to the library, just having those
Mhm.
things. And so that takes a skill. So I would say those two skills, communication skills and time management skills, are two of the things that I think are really challenging for our younger demographic.
Yeah, these two skills that you mentioned, James. I hire a lot of young people. I interview a lot of them. I go through it. So kudos to you to for you guys to putting time into training teaching these two skill set, and congrats to you and your team. I hope other universities are doing same what you guys doing. But these two skills, I hire a lot of people, and I go through a lot of interviews. Easy to find the hard skills. Hard skills are teachable. You can teach it very quickly. If I fix something this way, I can simply walk you through here. This is how I fix it, and you can copy that all the time.
Right.
But the soft skills you mentioned, the communication and time management, this is not easy to teach. So when I go through people, young people I'm interviewing, these are the skill set that I'm looking for, and these are hard to find. Easy to find technical skills and all the hard skills, but very hard to find these skills that you mentioned. And these are two most critical skills you just mentioned. Communication and time management. And I'm sure if you guys get, when people start developing those skill set, you probably see that bigger change in their in the skills and the game as well when they're playing for you.
Yeah, as far as off the court, uh, the biggest change I would say is the confidence to be able to walk into a room, with your shoulders back and your head high. To be very honest with you, and that can mean so much. That can mean like I'm walking into this room, not insecure because I don't know what to say or how to say it, but I'm walking into this room because I belong here. There's a feeling of belonging, and I think the second thing is I'm prepared for whatever may come my way because I've done the work beforehand to get to this place. And so I would say though confidence. The biggest thing is confidence, and it translates to the floor as well. If you put in the work, uh, whenever you're whenever you're up against something that may present to be a problem, you know how to navigate it because you practiced it. You've seen it before. And it goes back to like you said about the soft skills. Once you learn the soft skills, because they're learned behaviors, once you break your old uh behaviors that aren't beneficial for the environment you're going in, and you develop a new set of behaviors, in this case, the business world, now your confidence level goes up, your handshake, your walk. You walk into a room, ready to network. You walk into a room with your elevator pitch. You walk into your, and we do teach elevator pitch. We get the kids simulation in an elevator. You have 15 to 20 seconds to talk to Steve. I was about to say Steve Jobs, rest in peace. You got 15 to 20 seconds to talk to the CEO of Amazon.
Yeah.
So
Those were you guys finding, the way you and I learned in our generation, I'm probably a little bit older, but, are we changing the way these kids learning, the young people coming to a workforce, are they learning differently? They're not sitting there reading instructions. They're not, if you sit them down and talk to them for hour, you lose them very quickly. Their attention span is very, very small compared to our attention span in the previous generations, right? So are you guys changing the way you guys teach? Like, what are you guys finding that these kids are learn differently than prior generations?
yeah, the most effective way I've I feel like to get across to them is to put things in clips. Think about it. They look at Instagram, they look at TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. I mean X, excuse me. Everything's in clips. So 15 to 20-minute segments, especially in my class. I have an online class and an in-person class. In my online class, all the videos, all the clips are a 5 minute. They're 5 minutes, but my lectures are so packed with the important information that they need. So I've learned how to be more efficient with how I give them information. And part of that is because they have access to a lot more information. I don't know about you, but I had to go to a encyclopedia to get some of the things that Google can tell you in 5 seconds. Like I just learned, for me to transfer Celsius to Fahrenheit or Fahrenheit to Celsius, I would have to get the formula. I would go to the encyclopedia and find out things. Now I could just speak into Google. So the students can just, speak it and the answer can be populated to them, in milliseconds. So I think we have had to, and we are adjusting to just how they learn. And it's really in small bites, but the small bites are packed with a lot of flavor. I'm a big fan of cooking shows, but tapas meals. You can have a small bite of it, but it can be filled with so much flavor that it becomes unforgettable. And I think that's the way that we have to reach our young people's small packets of information, but it's so packed and so efficient with what they need that it's very difficult for them to forget. They retain, and then they can process that information later. So that's worked for me so far.
Yeah, one of the what I'm finding is that I'm always thinking through if you look at 20 years before, 15 years ago, the challenge was we didn't have enough information, right? So we were always looking for information. How do I get this information? How do I gain information? The kids growing up today in a university or colleges, that's not their challenge. They have too much information.
Right.
And how to filter through they're probably getting the same information from 5 different sources. So for them to find what is the right information and use that information instead of another 10 sources to get information from, all those are all the distractions. So that's a skill set they need to build, how to focus on the right information and just stay with it instead of trying to get confused with the too many sources of information.
Yes, yes. I think it goes back to the conversation we had about AI. AI works so well when you give the prompt a specific area to narrow down, because if not, it'll be so broad. And when you can narrow down, and the same thing with what you just said, I thought you put that together very, very well. Uh, Instead of having 5 to 10 sources, let's focus on the question that could get the most efficient answer that you possibly need. And to do that, you got to ask the right questions. And so that's another skill set that I truly believe in. I'm a huge John Maxwell fan. So he has a book called Great Leaders Ask Great Questions. Or Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And I'm a big fan of asking the right question to get the appropriate answer. So those are some things that I utilize with my students. Let's be more specific with our question so we can narrow down our answer, so you don't have such a broad lane to choose from. And now you're confused because you're receiving information that could counterbalance each other. So that's a big.
I want to run by one of the item by you. I was reading a book from Simon yesterday on a leadership, and one of the item he was talking about AI when you just mentioned, and what he mentioned it makes so much sense. What he was saying that the AI is give you end results. So if I want to go to point B, and I say, listen, how do I get there? It's going to give you 10 steps. Hey, this is how you get there, right?
Right.
So I get there. So that is so fast, so accurate information. I can get there. But the journey that we have to go through, the process we have to go through, this is where skill set comes in.
Right.
This is how you build skill set by going through a journey and the process, not by looking at the end result.
Right.
Because if you look at the end result, you're never gonna get there, right? So how does that AI works in a skill development, all that area? Definitely, it gives you information what you're looking for, but you're gonna build the skill set or communication skills. What we're talking about is going through the process, and you gotta enjoy the process instead of just looking for that end goal.
You have to. You have to. Yeah, the journey is so important. I talk to my guys every day, and I tell them to enjoy the moment. Remember where you're standing is what I tell them. Remember where you're standing, because you're going to spend your later years in remembrance of the times that you had with the people that you enjoyed having those times with, more so than you're going to remember the outcomes of what happened when you guys were doing a task together. You're going to remember the moments with the people. And I think that is so important, especially in our business world. Uh, you think about somebody who's starting a business and they become successful after they start a business. You remember I like to hear origin stories of how businesses got started, and I love to read the back of packaging of how a business got started in somebody's garage. But that there's beauty in that. There's a reason why it's on the part. It's a reason why it's on the packaging, because that story reminds that owner of what him and his co-owners or him and his family went through to get to the successful place that they are.
Sure.
And like I said, you remember those moments on the journey. And like you said, trial and error sometimes is the best lesson that you can have for business, because it's something that you could use for later on. And I'm a huge fan of history. I'm a huge fan of George Patton. Is one of my favorite generals. And I got a couple of his books that were written about him. And he was such a historian. Like, he understood Napoleon, he understood Alexander the Great, he understood the past, because he was able to use it here in the future. And I think, especially from a business standpoint, when you're able to say, hey, I made that mistake in 2016, that same dilemma and problem is here in 2020 during COVID. How did I navigate it then in those different circumstances? Can I take from that moment and bring it here? You can't get that with AI, right? You can't get that emotion with that decision making. You can't get that gut feeling when you're making a decision. And I think those things are so important when we're on our journey, especially here in the business world. Because sometimes it's not about what you know; it's about who you know. And if you build connections along the way, then those connections can serve you. Later on. I'm definitely a product of not necessarily what I know, but I'm a product of who I've been connected to. And that's been so important along my journey.
That's such a great point. The skill set you guys teaching. Here example with you. We recently hosted a one position, and we started a video interviewing. One site, where you sit in front of the camera, you answer a bunch of questions,
Yeah.
and you give candidates 30 minutes, and the whole idea is to test that skill you guys teach. Communication skills and how you present yourself and how do you do that. That was the whole idea. But what we find was after interviewing about 700 people, I think got through that, everybody's answer matches. So how does everybody's answer matches and word to word exactly the same? Is because they're reading through a ChatGPT.
Yep. Yep.
So I had to say in front of before the interview starts, so listen, we okay with the wrong answer. That is okay. That's totally acceptable. We're not looking for right answer, but we're looking for your efforts.
Yes.
Stop reading for ChatGPT and just tell us what you. But these kind of you see that AI is good use, and also the use that people overuse it sometime, right? So especially if you can't do the work, you gotta be careful when you are going through the interview. Just reading from ChatGPT.
We live in such a culture and environment where you have to be right. And
Yeah.
what we've come to find out is the most successful people have been wrong probably way more times than they've been.
Too many times.
You know what I'm saying? And so it is very important that you go through some bumps.
Yeah.
It's probably another thing that I would say about, the next generation is it's okay to fail, right? It's okay to miss the mark, you know, because it can allow you to recalibrate, maybe do some things different and come back stronger. But I think it's in how you take adversity. I am an advocate of adversity. I'm a living proof of overcoming, adversity. I recently had a kidney transplant in December. Yeah, so I have somebody else's kidney in my body functioning for me. And that was a pretty difficult time leading up to that, but that was an adverse moment. I was still coaching through the process, right? So that but I could have sat down, I could have took all advantage of FMLA and all other things that happen from an HR standpoint, but I wanted to continue the journey because I value spending time with the guys, right? So uh, but that was a learning lesson. I learned some lessons in that. Sometimes if your body's telling you to shut down, go ahead and shut it down so you can come back stronger, right? I learned that lesson.
Yeah.
Uh, but it also allowed me the opportunity to step back and look at some things from a holistic perspective about how I run my organization, I run my businesses. And so, from trial and error, adversity, being hit with an obstacle that you didn't expect. I think those things develop character, and then when they get to you in the interview, as opposed they can look at ChatGPT for the highlights or maybe some bullet points, but they're giving you an answer from their brain, not from what they're just reading, not from reciting and memorization. So
Wrong answer is fine. There's no, wrong or right, but it just what you know. You just want to come across genuine.
yep.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think was it a Jordan or was it a Gretzky mentioned that it's a somebody asked him, what makes you different? It's simply said, listen, you just haven't seen the 10,000 shots I miss. You only see the what I'm winning shots are. How about the one I missed? Very interesting. So let's talk about business side. So you have a business background. So what are you doing in a business front?
I have a consulting business, uh, and basically, from my core values that I created several years ago, I've created pretty much a framework that allows me to be able to not only challenge different areas of influence, but be able to give people practical tools that they can use in their own personal lives. And also from the business standpoint, from me being a professor on campus, I'm able to do consultation work for businesses. So, a business will bring me in, we'll sit down, we'll talk. I have a gift to be able to tap into someone else's vision, see the vision, and then give them some tools or some things that can help grow their vision. And it's a gift to be able to do that. It's my namesake. It's kind of what happened when Jacob got his name changed. He took his birthright. This whole different thing with my name. But just being able to see someone else's vision and take their vision and what they want to do and be able to give them advice and or tools to be able some practical things that they can do. I'm all about being practical. I'm very dogmatic in my approach, and then the project management manager in me. You say you want to do this, Let's sit down and plan out the steps of doing that, and let's execute these steps step by step, and then we'll see the results when we get to the end. But at the end of the day, when we get to the end, it should look like what you wanted, what you wrote down from the previous steps. So that's kind of what I do on that end. And then my wife, who's an amazing person, she also has a marketing business. She has a marketing company, marketing firm, and so she does marketing. So I help her in that route too as well. So PR marketing. So kind of hybrid business there.
So the model in a business, you already practice that with the university, the basketball team all the time. You're building characters, you're building the communication skills. These are the skills so much require in a business. The same skill set, right? You just executing in a different way. But building characters, building core values, these are like fundamentals in building a managing a basketball team.
Yes, sir. I start all my student athletes with a mission statement. What's your mission statement? Why do you believe you were created? Because what I found that is when a person has purpose, when they have purpose, they are so driven because they know where they want to go. When you're aimless and you could go left or you could go right, you end up in places that you may or may not have want to be in. So let's sit down and let's narrow, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? What does it look like for you? Because at the end of the day, the word coach just means taking a person from one place to another. That's the word coach. And so I tell people all the time, my job is to take you tell me where you want to go. My job is to help you get there. And that's what a coach does. It's not about winning or losing. It's about your vision, your dream, your goals, and what can I do with my giftings, my talents, my goals, and how do we help each other get to the next station in life that we want to get to? So yeah, that's a very big. But we start with the mission statement. What's your mission statement?
So what are you finding the kids coming to you? Do they know where they want to get to?
They don't, and that's okay. But we want to get a good general idea of what they want to do. Like, what does your life look like after you graduate? We'll just go there, like 4 or 5 years from now, right? Without saying in 4 or 5 years, where do you want to be? But what do you want your life to look like? What do you want sophomore year as a freshman? What do you want your next year to look like? We go year by year to break it down that minuscule, right? What do you want the next 3 months once you get to campus in August? And I have these conversations with our guys because what's going to happen is when you end, like when graduation happens, they're pushed out into the world, right? Yeah. Hope that the previous uh institution or organization that promised to give you tool sets have given you just enough to where they get to you. Now you're going to give them another tool bag, right? Add it on to what the bag that they already have. So you're going to give them some more tools. And then when they get to that next station in life, and so that's how I look at it because I have relationships with young men and women that I coached 12 years ago. And so they're doing well in life. Not saying what I taught them, but they're doing well in life because they had a direction that they wanted to go and a purpose for where they wanted to go. And I found that works, when you target that a little bit. And you don't have to know. You and I both know you could say I want to start a business. I have no idea, but you have that entrepreneurial spirit, right? You want to do something, even yourself. Probably didn't have any idea you would be here right now in this place, right? However, you had a vision. You had a goal of what you at least wanted life to look like a little bit to get to this place. And I think if you have just a sliver of a picture, like if you just had the negatives, I feel like I can help you, flush out a little bit more clear, a clear picture of what you want to do.
Or you simply have a need to grind more, or you want to get better where you are today. If there's a need to get better, I think even that can translate into vision as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm not finding many kids that university young men, or ladies that go to to hire. They are prepared for that stuff. One of my favorite question, James, in an interview is, the first question in that the one way interview is simply, what do you want to be in 3 years? And they will go through those scripted answers. I want to be there. I want to be this senior role. Well, okay, how about this next 6 months where you want to be, and
Go ahead.
and how do you connect the 6 months to the 3 years? And then you see that disconnect, right? At 6 months I want to be there, but the 3 years they don't line up properly.
Yeah.
Right? So if they think it through, and if there's some sort of planning, at least they can articulate that hey, 6 months I want to be there, and the 3 years I want to be there. They will both match up. But very often when you ask those questions in a reverse order, they have a plan for 3 years, but the 6 months what they're trying to do, it doesn't add up to that.
Because you really can only see as far as your hand is out in front of you, right? If you remove your hand, you see so much, but if you see your hand, you can get to your hand. And so that is a great example of how I try to, talk to the young people that I engage with, is in the fact that uh let's let's get 1% better. You got, the whole crawl before you run thing. Let's not even crawl. Let's just get one step.
Get started.
One step, then you'll take another step. You take another step, and then now. And if you need to crawl, you can. But we want to get to the plate part where you're running. But we also want to know that sometimes you may need to slow made to walk. Like being able to, what I call, use pace. Like, I think life is about pace. There's some moments where you got to move fast, and then there's some moments where you got to slow down a little bit and regroup and reorganize. And that happens all the time in business. I think of Red Lobster. I don't know if you're familiar with Red Lobster as a company.
Yeah, yeah.
Was just in bankruptcy, and now the young CEO that just took over, he's pulled them out of bankruptcy. He had to slow down things and then come back out, to the market, and they've come out of bankruptcy, and he's introduced some new exciting things with the menu and just with the service and the staff. But there had to have been some meetings to where it got pretty hard and pretty tough, you know. And then now we can go out and run again. So I think those things happen in life as well as in business. And I think there's such a microcosm of each other. Like there's so much interconnectedness between those two.
Nice. Very interesting. So the business leaders you work with, people who are watching or listening, business leaders in a C-suite, when you're helping business leader, James, what are the challenges they are up against?
Uh, when I'm helping, so the biggest thing is knowing your numbers. Knowing your numbers. You know, if you're a chef, knowing your margins of how much, ingredients to the finished product. What is that? Like, if you're a law firm, knowing how many clients you need to make rent. You know, that's really the biggest thing, is knowing what your numbers are to be able to function, and then knowing what your numbers are to be able to profit. Because at the end of the day, we all know what a business is designed for. This is to make money. It's designed to turn a profit. You shouldn't create a business to break even. You should create it to turn a profit. And so,
Hmm.
knowing your numbers. But again, I go through my framework. Is the communication key? Are the people in your organization working hard? Is the organization organized? Is all the paperwork in order? Do people turn things in on time? Are vendors getting paid? Integrity. Are you doing the things that you say that you're going to do and doing them when you say you're going to do them? Do you have some social responsibility for your community and in your company? And then commitment. Are you making your commitments? If you're telling somebody you're gonna have a job done at 6 p.m. on Friday, is it done at 6 p.m. on Friday? Or have you communicated that it may take a little longer? Like, that's what commitment is. Is there excitement? Are you what's the morale? What's the morale of the people that work with you, will work with you and work for you, however you describe that. And the last thing that I always talk to them about is sacrifice. What are you willing to give up to be successful? What are you what is something that you'll lose on this hand to gain on this hand? And that's the choices framework. And that's pretty much how I line those core values up with what's going on in the business. And you could see most people, most times, have either 4 out of the 7. And probably the one that I see the most is the one that is challenging for the most is the excitement. Like, because it's very difficult to get other people excited for your vision.
Yeah.
Because it's not theirs, right? They can't. But the thing is, if you could generate enough morale, then people will take ownership of what you're casting.
Yeah.
And so that's what I communicate to C-suite level executives, just about, are you within those frameworks. How does it look? Because I believe that if you execute this framework in the proper manner, which servant leadership and transformational leadership are the two bases of the framework, then you'll have a much larger workforce that is happy, enjoyable, and is joyful to work for you. And what I found is, especially when it comes to coaching, that if your people know that you love them and care about them, they'll do anything for you, without question.
There's, all items you mentioned in a framework, that's a lot of items. Business owners who are running a business or trying to scale their companies, right? So they are very narrow focused on a few things, right? So they have so many blind spots. That's where we need a people like you to highlight some of those challenges, so business owners can deal with it. But when you're running a business, you need so narrowly focused. Challenges are you up against? Whether it's people challenges, whether it's a business challenges, you're up against so many challenges and dealing on a daily basis. So there's gonna be a lot of blind spot, and that's where I think people like you come, very helpful. That is simply highlighting those blind spot and putting those things at the front. Hey, listen, this is where you gotta pay attention to. That's very helpful for business owner to scale and grow the companies.
The 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 amazing thing that you just said, the scaled down version of that is when you sit down and talk with someone, I say, hey, tell me three things that you own, three things that you rent. Three things that you own or something that you just know. Like my company does this. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to execute it. And what are three things that you rent? These are things that we struggle with. If you could put those together, that narrowly focused, okay, I rent this. I really want to own this. So now you'll put your energy and shift it. If you just do two of those, two things I own, two things I rent. When I do that framework, the renting and the owning, they see what it is like. Hey, I'm good at this. Our company, we're good at this. We execute this flawlessly. But this right here, it's in our strategic plan, but we don't do a good job of it. I'm gonna focus on this. And so now you bring that renting over to ownership, and now you add something else to the renting. So that's how we kind of narrow that down. And I do agree, with the choices framework, it's a bit robust, but it's really interlocked and like they're all kind of connected to each other. Because if you're not doing one, then the other one's suffering. So if you spruce up one, the other one, pops up. You're like, oh, okay, it's there. It's really there. It's just haven't paid attention to it. But yeah, the renting and the owning, two of those, that usually is a fun exercise, and it's a very self-awareness exercise about, especially if you're going up against your mission and your vision statement and your strategic plan. You could be like, oh, we're not executing that like we want to, like we say. I want to take ownership of that. And so you put your energy towards that, and that's just two items. And that could change, that could change a lot.
Those three, it's interesting you mentioned that. I learned recently that, so the three items you mentioned, three to rent and three items you own.
Mm.
If you ask business owner, he may give you different items on a list. But if you ask other people in a team, they may give you totally different items on a list. And then the struggle is how do you come to the same point? Right? Because business owner, they probably think it through different lenses, and people working for you, they think it through different lenses, right? What do you
Yeah.
think their strength is? It may not be the strength when you talk to the people in the team.
I think that's where you bring it back to the mission and vision statement. If you have that, right? If you have that, you got to bring it back to that, or the strategic plan. Like most people have a strategic plan that they execute every year. Any high level business does anyway. Hey, this employee says this, C-suite says this. Let's bring it to the strategic plan, which is quote unquote the Bible of the organization. And if it doesn't match that, then you guys both are off. How do we get back to this? Because this is what we're exporting to the global community. This is what we're exporting in our commercials. This is what we're sharing in our social media marketing, right? And it should match. If it's not eternal, there's something's going to happen to where it's almost like an alignment. It's not in alignment. If you're not in alignment, your wheels start to shake in the car. You're going to go left, you go right. But no, we want to go straight. So how do we get that? You got to stop the car. You got to put it on a raised thing or wherever, and you got to align those wheels to get them tight. So now you put the car back on the road. Now it's going straight. But I think you have to come to a common place, which is, from both high, in the C-suite to the mail clerk. Hey, what's our vision statement? What does it say? What do we say when you go to our website, you click on the About Us, and we say this? Does it match what's going on with us right now? And if it doesn't, you got to center yourself, so.
Yeah, very interesting. So let's talk about your books as well. What books? Did you publish already one, or are you working on one? And where you at?
Coming out August 21st.
Okay.
It's called Choices: A Christ-Centered Path to Hope and Future. It's a very practical, very short read, just giving people some practical steps about how to find purpose, how to lock in with purpose. And then in December, I'll come out with Lead by Choices, which is my framework, which is a practical guide, framework for business, it's a leadership guide, basically just kind of teaching servant leadership and transformational leadership. Like you don't have to have the mantra of stepping on people to get to the top. Like you can utilize the gifts and talents of other people to be able to generate success, however you deem it. And then my last book is choices. For it's for husbands. I just became a new husband a month as a change ago. This is my third marriage, to be extremely honest. And so I haven't been a good leader in my previous marriages. And I felt like I had a lot of hope in finding love again. So I wanted to write another book, just encouraging people who's lost love, divorcees, and things of that nature. Because there's a very high divorce rate for CEOs and executives, in our fifth, right? In both the coaching field and in the business world, there's a high divorce rate. And so when you find true love and you find a partner who helps elevate you, which I have, um, I wanted to write about it and just say the experience that I've shared with having a partner who believes in me just as much as I believe in myself. So those are the three books that are coming out, as well as I got a journal, a leadership journal. So I'm going head on into this publication, public speaking field, and kind of doing a career pivot. With taking the things that I've done with young people that I found to be successful, putting them in books, and then also, what I'm saying, being able to give them to young aspiring businesses. And actually, I'm shifting my focus to small businesses for the simple fact of my wife. She leads a cohort every spring and fall of small business owners, and she basically walks them through the process of how to run their business. Uh, so at the end of this, they're able to pitch their business to be able to get investors. And so I want to help people who are searching, who probably listen to your podcast to get business tips and tools from some of the greatest minds that can ever be, and be able to apply those. And I think that's a very important thing, to be able to get these tips and tools, but then you got to apply them. Like, how do I apply them to my business on a daily basis? So how do I send you someone who will interview you and impress you and knock you off your feet, to make it undeniable that you have to hire him because I've been the best candidate that you've seen out of the 700. I don't know how to do it, but you are amazing for that.
We tried. So, but I'm looking forward to your book. Definitely, I'm gonna look forward to. I'm gonna mark the date in August. So I'm gonna get that. But the point you mentioned is very, very critical. That's a true definition of success. What you just mentioned, that you don't want to be successful in a business, and then fail in your personal life, and fail in a kid's life. More CEOs, they struggle with that. But you want to be successful all around. You want to be successful in a marriage. You want to be successful with the kids. You want to be successful in a business. You want to win all front, not just only one of the front, right? And that is a challenge. I find that when you focus only on a one item, you don't focus everything on a whole, that you win on a one area, but you drop the ball in other areas, right? I think that's a struggle, and I think a lot of people do understand, but business is hard. So is life. Sometimes you just shortchange in one area, and then you struggle with that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is a challenge, but I just believe, as in business, who you partner with matters.
Huge.
Who your partner is matters, man. Like, if you have a partner that shares your core values, your character, it makes business so much easier. And I think the same works for relationships. Who you decide to get in a relationship with, whether it's marriage, friendship, it works the same. That's why I say I think business and life go hand in hand, because like you said, we try to focus on so many things. But I think if you take care of your family will allow you to be able to take care of a business, because you're taking care of your family. So you're not happy. I'm not divided. My wife is just as busy as I am, but I make sure that I take care of home, so I'm able to do all the things, that I can do. And she allows me the space to be able to challenge and to be able to push myself. But I also know that because she does that I got to take care of her, and my two kids. So, that for me, it's an easy transition. I think it can be for other people. I think, like you said, when you just put all your eggs in that one basket, you leave all this stuff over here and something's going to get left out, because you can't serve two masters at the same time. You got to choose one. But I think if you choose one the right way, the other stuff will open itself up. So I'm a firm believer in that.
Very interesting. Very. Um, we're gonna look forward to your book, James. People who wanna, definitely business leader listening to us, definitely, I see, a lot of help coming from you. There's a lot of blind spot as we talk about it. People can use a lot of help. Where can they find you? How can they connect with you if somebody wants to have a discussion with you?
Oh, yes. You can connect with me at james.cornelius.williams@gmail.com. It's my current hosting place for my website. I am currently building my website. As I said, I'm doing a career pivot, so I had to make some adjustments. My previous site was all basketball, so now I'm having to transition photos, wording, and all the other stuff. So I will be able to get that on my social medias. On X, it's Coach J all day, just the letter J, Coach J all day. On Instagram, it's Coach Jay all day. And you can find me those two places. My DMs are open, so I'm very, open to any opportunity. Um, I, I'm not in this for money. I'm in this for giving education. So
Yeah.
I want people to be able to succeed at whatever it is they want to do, and that's my goal.
Yeah, no, I'm going to include all the links that you mentioned below this video. People can click a button and they can connect with you.
Thank you.
But I think from a discussion standpoint, I learned a lot from you. It's just, and I'm looking forward to the to your book release for the choices framework. And I think there's a lot to learn from you. People who are business leader or watching who are listening to us on a podcast, I will definitely encourage them to reach out to you for conversation. Who knows where the conversation can take you, and connect with you. I'm sure I learn a lot, and whoever connects with you, they're gonna learn a lot from you as well.
I thank you so much for your time.
We're gonna do this again when the book is released, James. When I go through books after that, we need to do another podcast stuff on your book.
Amazing. Just let me know. I'm here for you, and anything you need, just let me know and it's done.
Hey, thank you for coaching all the kids. Thank you for being a role model for all the kids, the young young people. They need those role models. They need a lot of those help, a lot of coachings to come to the workforce. For especially communication, time management. Those are two critical skills. But kudos to you for helping this young man to learn all these skill set before they go to a workforce. So appreciate your time. Thank you so much for time, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
All right. Same to you. Have a great rest of your day.